This is Lunchtime Politics, reaching you live from Channels Television's headquarters in Lagos. Hello and welcome. I am Bukola Koka. Our top stories. Hours after his indefinite suspension from office, the FCC boss, Mr. Abdurrashid Bawa, is now being quizzed by the Department of State Service over his conduct. The Kano state government gives reasons for several demolitions carried out in the state. As they say, more unapproved structures causing obstruction will go down. The Inspector General of Police directs the Police Commissioner in Plateau State to seal up all the local government secretariats in the state following skirmishes from the suspension of local government chairman. Thank you for staying tuned, and we start with this breaking news. President Bola Tinubu has inaugurated the National Economic Council with a promise to sustain the rejuvenation of the nation's economy. Addressing members, governors of the Federation, the president charged the council to join forces to support his administration towards transforming the nation and stimulating serious growth. He reminds the council of the promise made during his inaugural speech that he would focus on 8 priority areas, including security, economy, job creation, agriculture and infrastructure, among others. President Tinubu further notes that the task of growing the economy is enormous and there is no excuse for failure. The inauguration, which comes a week after he directed the Economic Council to meet to come up with the interventions to mitigate the effects of the removal of fuel subsidy. The president, who subsequently inaugurated the National Economic Council, concluded by reminding the members that collaboration is not a crime. And now, what appears a twist of fate, the FCC boss, Abdurrashid Bawa, is now cooling his heels in DSS custody following his indefinite suspension by President Bola Tinubu on Wednesday evening. In a statement released late on Wednesday, spokesperson of the Department of State Service, Mr. Peter Funaya, said Mr. Bawa was invited by the DSS and that he arrived the office shortly after. He said the suspended EFCC chairman was invited in relation to ongoing investigation over his conduct. The statement reads in part, the Department of State Services, DSS, has invited Mr. Abdurrashid Bawa, the suspended chairman of the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission. Mr. Bawa was suspended by President Bola Tinubu indefinitely on Wednesday following weighty allegations of abuse of office. Of course, we've told you earlier that the president has suspended the chairman of the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, Mr. Abdurrashid Bawa, in what is described as a move to allow for proper investigation into his conduct while in office. The indefinite suspension, according to a statement from the Office of the Secretary to the Government of the Federation, follows weighty allegations of abuse of office. And consequently, Mr. Bawa has been directed to immediately hand over to the Director of Operations of the Commission to oversee affairs of the Anti-Graft Agency pending the conclusion of investigations. Mr. Bawa's suspension comes less than a week after the President suspended the Central Bank Governor, Mr. Godwin Emefiele, over infractions, and barely hours after meeting with the President at the State House. Mr. Bawa came into office following the sack of Mr. Ibrahim Magu, who was also embroiled in allegations of corruption. The youngest chairman of the EFCC since the creation of the commission, Mr. Bawa assumed office after former President Muhammadu Buhari removed the former EFCC boss, Mr. Magu, in July 2020. The suspended EFCC chair was the chief investigator for the alleged multi-billion naira fraud case against former Minister of Petroleum Resources, Diezani, Alison Madueke. Between January and November 2022, the FCC said it had obtained 3,440 convictions for financial crimes and cyber crimes. Away from Stories relating to the suspension of the EFCC boss now. To others, the administration in Kano State says its main focus will be to address the issue of alleged illegal land sales during the former administration. And bearing this in mind, several structures, including a monumental Kano City roundabout, have been demolished, with more expected to follow in the coming days. While the government's actions have come with mixed reactions, some individuals have taken advantage of the chaos by engaging in looting both within and outside the affected areas. Our correspondent Sadiq Ilyasu has more.
The recovery of alleged illegal land sold by the Ganduje administration across Kano State is among the first assignments embarked on by the new Kano State Governor Abba Kabir in his first weeks in office. At the last count, 7 structures, including the multi-million naira historic roundabout located close to the government house entrance, have been demolished. However, the demolition site attracts some miscreants who took an advantage and began to loot.
Akalla gaskiya Allah kare sun dalilin da yasa ni a lokacin saboda ni ina can dore akwai wannan shine ɗaya daga cikin wanda ya zo wajen sai makota su ne suka kokarin taimaka akwai babar matar mai shagon saboda da wuka suka zo dan sai guduwa ta so karshe aka ba masa doka akwai wancan makocin mai mai shi ko fis ɗaya ne ta da shi
da jari ya kai na miliyan 25 wanda muna da kaya a sama na sto ya kai na miliyan 15 nan kasa kuma muna da na miliyan 5 to ka gani lokacin da wannan abu ya faru wallahi muna zuwa muka tarar na ston mu kayan mu da muke da su a gaba ɗaya babu su an kwashe su dan kaga daga karfe 2 zuwa karfe 8 duk wanda bai zo ba a wannan lokacin to zai rasa kayansa da yake da shi dan karshe zai zo ya samu shagonsa sai ka zo da mukulli da niyya ka kwashe kayan ka gudu wallahi sai ka tarar shagon ko kofa babu
to ba mun ne mun zo da muna dan karɓo kaya a wajen yin kuma haka muna dan kasa da sauransu kuma da yamma mu bashi abin da muka ci kai ba su abin da muka samu
to gaskiya ne kusan yace kuka zo kuka gurin nan mu ma haka muka tashi da safe muka zo muka tarar da barayi in ma ka zo ka ga dan rago da zaka dauka in ka kawo hannu su ma suna kawo hannu ko makamai ne a hannunsu saboda haka wasu abubuwan dole sai haƙura ma muka yi ma suka kwashe kamar abin ma maganar kaya irin rumfunan ma ko inda mu muka yi to da muka zo ma muna dan babballa katakwayen mu dan sha tsira da wani abin wallahi sai su muna ja suna ja da wuƙaƙe da waye kuma shago dama already an riga an fasa ta baya wanda Allah ya sa ya ji labari karfe 2 ya zo ya dan samu abin da ya samu to ko littafi ni ban gani ba na lissafi littafi ba abin da na gani kayan sola da muka hada da waye wallahi ta panel.
And now to get a fuller view on the ongoing demolition in Kano State, we have joining us Mr. Musa Lawan. He is a former Attorney General of Kano State and the supervisor of the public-private partnership arrangement under the immediate past administration of Abdullahi Ganduje. Welcome, Mr. Lawan, to Lunchtime Politics.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Yes, so let's begin by asking you to tell us what exactly is happening. Give us an insight into why the new administration is demolishing most of the projects and structures put up under the immediate past government.
Well, thank you very much. As to telling you why they are demolishing it, I don't think I can be able to do that. But I can tell you that with respect to Daula Hotel, we all know that it's a very old hotel, which for over 30 years has not been utilized. In fact, it has become like a den of criminals. There was a time when the last administration of Dr. Rabiu Musa Kwankwaso wanted to use it as a hospitality college, but that too, because there was no accreditation, it was not fully utilized. So the policy of the last administration, headed by Dr. Abdullahi Umar Ganduje, decided that look, we cannot leave all these government properties lying there without any revenue coming to the state. So we invited investors, reputable investors who had money to invest, and we had an agreement with them that, look, this is a land belonging to Kano State government. We want to develop it, and it was agreed that they will bring the funds, over 10 billion naira, to develop that land. That is to build an emporium, a big shopping complex, and in the middle a 3-star hotel, which is to be called Daula Boutique Hotel. And in the last portion, 27 plots were to be divided. It was also agreed that the land, the value of the land, will be the equity contribution of Kano State. And after having a lot of discussions and agreements, it was agreed that we came up with a figure that Kano State government was going to receive after the project an amount of about 2.4 billion naira. We now asked the investors, the hotel they were building, based on the calculations they brought, the hotel was going to cost about 3 billion naira, and the state government said, look, what we want is to take over the hotel as the equity contribution of Kano State, meaning that Daula Hotel has been revitalized. A new modern multi-billion naira hotel is there for the state, and it had a very big parking space, over 300 cars. If not for the corona pandemic, which
Mr. Lawan, permit me to come in there.
Have been completed over a year or two
permit
ago.
me to come in there, Mr. Lawan.
It was completed.
If I may come in there.
Also, but
Mr. Lawan, if I may come in there, according to you, the Daula Hotel, you explained, had been lying fallow and become a den of criminals. But that is not what the NNPP would have us believe. According to the state chairman, the Daula Hotel was a school that had 2,000 students, and in fact admissions were ongoing, but the Ganduje administration went ahead and demolished the school and allocated the plots, divided it into 50 plots and sold it at 25 plots rather, and sold it at 50 million naira each. And you also say that the value of the land, according to the plan of your government, was to make it an equity contribution of Kano State. But the former administration, the current administration, would have us believe that they found nothing in the coffers as remittances from the sale.
You see, like I said, I think probably he was talking out of ignorance, because this was a PPP agreement. The state government did not put a single kobo, and the state government was not given any amount of money. What happened was that part of the benefit the state was going to get, or one of the benefits the state was going to get, was a new 3-star Daula Boutique Hotel. So, of course, if they check the coffers, they are not going to see anything, because no money was paid to the state government. The investor was supposed to invest billions, about 12.8 billion naira into the project. And, of course, he was also going to take his profit. So, part of the plots, the land was divided into 3, and then on one part, a hotel was built for Kano State government worth over 3 billion naira, which was handed over to the state government. That is the value. That is what the state got. And with the issue of the students that he is talking about, he was saying admission was ongoing. The courses that were supposed to be taken there did not have any accreditation. They were talking about a faculty. There was no accreditation for that faculty. And what the state government did at that time was, because the KUT was the one running the program, was to allocate, there is a big an institute, Karfi Sports Institute. It was converted into a school, and some of the students were sent there. And in the tourism board, we have also classrooms. The students were taken there, and the admission continued. So it wasn't as if the students were asked to go home. There was no school. No, this project was done in order to revive Daula Hotel. And it was revived. New hotel was built. It was there, handed over to the state. But unfortunately, when they went for the demolition, miscreants entered into the hotel, packed away all the furniture, all the electrical appliances, and vandalized the whole hotel. So for him to say that when they check into the coffers, of course the hotel PPP agreement is arrangement sometimes is you get paid in cash and sometimes you get paid in kind.
Mr. Lawan,
that was what we got.
Mr. Lawan, if it was a PPP arrangement and it was the investor that was investing his own funds, how long before the Kano State government began to enjoy the proceeds from that partnership? And you were in charge of the PPP arrangement. Didn't you tighten all loose ends, you know, from these partnerships with the private sector?
Like I explained to you, the partnership was consummated in the year 2020. But because of the pandemic, we had, you all know that for over a year, nothing was going on. What the state, like I said, was to enjoy is the hotel, which about a month or 30 days ago, His Excellency Dr. Abdullahi Umar Ganduje took over the hotel. Now what remained was the running of the hotel. It is from the proceeds of the hotel that the state government will be getting the profits. Revenue will be coming into the state coffers. So that was the essence of the whole arrangement.
But Mr. Lawan, it would seem like this is, you know, a personal battle between the former governor and his former boss, Alhaji Musa Kwankwaso, especially when you consider, you know, the exchange of words between the two individuals. Are they settling scores with this demolition?
Well, when you look at the demolitions, first of all, let me say that a governor, an executive governor, a sitting governor, has the power to allocate land. Just like Dr. Rabiu Musa Kwankwaso did when he was the executive governor of Kano State. Dr. Abdullahi Umar Ganduje also had the same power when he was the governor of Kano State for 8 years, which he exercised in the interest of the people of Kano State. But when you exercise that power, when it comes to the revocation, there are certain conditions you have to follow. You have to give notice. It is there in the laws. You have to give notice to those that are there. But obviously, no notice was given. And if you look at the way the demolition was carried out, you will say that, well, this you can call it settling scores. Because if you are saying there was a school there and it was the former government now disbanded the school and whatever, why couldn't you have taken over the building? These are mighty shops which could have easily be converted into lecture halls. But if you demolish, it means then that you are reclaiming the land, meaning that you have to spend hundreds of millions to put in another structure, be it a school, a hospital, whatever it is.
Well,
why couldn't
Mr.
they
Lawan,
have combated that? Yes.
Mr. Lawan, there are more areas to touch. For example, the concern about how individuals are taking advantage of the situation to loot from those properties, but we are totally out of time. We want to thank you very much for your time on the program. Mr. Musa Lawan is a former Attorney General of Kano State and supervisor of the public-private partnership arrangement under the administration of former Governor Abdullahi Ganduje. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
And now to other stories now. The governor of Benue State, Reverend Father Hyacinth Alia, has taken an unpopular stand on the status of existing local government chairmen prior to his assumption of office. The governor has said that unlike other state executives, he has no plan of dissolving elected local government chairmen who are in the opposition party, but with a caution that any chairman who is incapable of holding down the peace and security of their domain should resign and allow those with capacity to step into the post. The governor, who read the Riot Act at his first meeting with the 23 local government chairmen elected under the platform of the People's Democratic Party, says he is not thinking of dissolving them, but wants a situation where all of them can work with him to ensure peace and security in Benue State. The meeting comes after violent communal clashes in Oju local government area that resulted in the death of 4 persons and 2 others in Gwe East local government area on Wednesday. And to Taraba State, where Governor Agbu Kefas has shut down a Unity Exchange school in the state capital owing to dilapidated structures, inadequate teachers and unhealthy learning environment. The governor has also directed that the exchange students program be suspended with immediate effect and has ordered the immediate return of the students to their various homes. And to Plateau State, where the Inspector General of Police, Usman Alkali Baba, has directed the sealing of all 17 local council secretariats in Plateau State, north-central Nigeria. The action, according to the IGP, is to avoid possible threats to lives and properties in the local government councils as a result of the leadership tussle following the suspension of elected chairmen and councillors by the state government. Crisis began to brew following the appointment of Transition Management Committee chairman in spite of a court order restraining the Plateau State government from tampering with the democratic structures at the local government level, pending the hearing of a substantive suit filed by the aggrieved chairman. The police are warning all sides not to allow a breakdown of law and order by disrupting the democratic process or causing any confusion around the local government secretariats. And to the National Assembly now, where the upper and lower legislative chambers held their first plenary a day after the inauguration. And as activities kick off in earnest in the 10th session, some lawmakers in the upper chamber have been speaking on issues they will be addressing in the coming days. Meanwhile, one of the first resolutions of the Senate was to send an official message to the President, Bola Tinubu, and international parliamentary bodies, informing them that a quorum of the Senate has assembled and that presiding officers of the 10th Senate have been elected.
This is the first plenary session at the upper chamber after the inauguration of the 10th National Assembly. Expectedly, the lawmakers exchange pleasantries as they await the commencement of sitting. The President of the Senate, Senator Godswill Akpabio, his deputy, Senator Jibrin Barau, and other principal officers arrive in the chamber and make their ways to their seats. After everyone had settled in, the President of the Senate called the meeting to order and almost immediately asked the non-senators to leave the chamber so the Senate could have a closed-door session. When the doors were opened again to the media, the Senate resolves to write to the President, Bola Tinubu, international parliamentary bodies and others, informing them that the 10th Assembly has begun in earnest. The resolution is following the motion moved by the Deputy Senate President.
The quorum of the Senate has assembled, and the presiding officers of the 10th National Assembly of the Senate have been elected as follows. President of the Senate, Senator Godswill Akpabio, North-West. Deputy President of the Senate, Senator Barau Jibrin, North.
The President of the Senate then set up a committee to address pertinent issues of members of the Senate.
I'd like to set up a committee to look into the welfare of the members.
Outside the chamber, some senators speak on issues they are looking forward to handle.
We will focus on the Constitution to do with the federal system, fiscal federalism, the issue of reducing power from the federal government to the state, all of the above.
We are trying to see what we can do in terms of legislation to make sure that every aspect of Kogi State, where federal presence should be, there must be legislation to compel the federal government to come in and work for us.
The challenges we have about security, which is, as I've usually opined, closely related to unemployment. We must begin to patronize ourselves as Nigerians in all ramifications.
The Senate has adjourned plenary to July 4, 2023.
And more stories now. A senior advocate of Nigeria, Mr. Olisa Agbakoba, has commended the President Bola Tinubu for his recent actions, which include the suspension of the CBN Governor, Godwin Emefiele, and the EFCC Chairman, Mr. Abdurrashid Bawa, and his implementation of the policies on fuel subsidy and foreign exchange. He also urged the President to investigate the INEC Chairman, Professor Mahmood Yakubu, as he believes the 2023 general elections were not up to the required standard, and both the winners and losers of the elections were victims of the poorly conducted exercise. And just before we go, Governor Uba Sani of Kaduna State has emphasized the importance of collaborating and engaging traditional rulers in the management of intelligence, which is needed for tackling security challenges. He made the assertion during a meeting with traditional rulers across the state. The governor promised to upscale the level of intelligence gathering for effective crime management through the close collaboration and partnership with the traditional institution.
Traditional rulers across Kaduna State converge on this hall for a meeting with the governor, Uba Sani, the first since his inauguration. The agenda of the meeting may not be too far from the efforts to tackle the peculiar security and socio-economic challenges in the state, and for that to happen, information from the royal fathers in their respective domains is vital. Amongst those present are the Emir of Zauzau and Chairman Kaduna State Council of Chiefs, Alhaji Nuhu Bamali, the paramount ruler of Atiab Chiefdom, Dominic Yahaya, the Emir of Jama'ah, Muhammadu Isa.
The traditional institution is critical to the success of any administration. It is closer to our people and has remained a stabilizing force at the grassroots. Our administration will effectively engage the traditional institution and involve it in its policy making and implementation.
We, as an entity, an institution, we're loyal and we will continue to be loyal to the government, and we also request that if there is anything that requires our attention on major policy decisions, the institution will be consulted from time to time, which we believe it will address some communication gaps.
While highlighting the importance of citizens' engagement and collaboration in tackling the problems of insecurity in Kaduna State, Governor Sani outlined his plans to assign specific roles to traditional rulers.
Our dear state has been facing security challenges. To effectively tackle the menace of criminal elements, we must put in place effective intelligence gathering and mechanism. The traditional institution has a critical role to play in putting together a framework for intelligence gathering and interface with security agencies at the grassroots level.
Over the years, there have been debates around more responsibilities to traditional rulers at both the federal and state levels. It appears the Kaduna State Governor is taking it beyond words, believing that issues bordering on insecurity cannot be effectively managed without the traditional institutions.
And just before we let you go, let's remind you that President Bola Tinubu has inaugurated the National Economic Council with a promise to sustain the rejuvenation of the nation's economy. He urged members of the council to join forces to support his administration towards transforming and stimulating serious growth. And this is where we drop the anchor on Lunchtime Politics for today. Join us again tomorrow. I am Bukola Koka.